Hi, I'm Allison Arngrim, and this is the Allison Arngrim Show. Some of you may know me as Evil Nellie Olson from Little House of the Prairie, but I'm Allison Arngrim. And here on the Allison Arngrim Show, we talk about the things that make you feel good. The TV shows and the movies that made you feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more exciting place. And I have someone who is all of those things, and it was fabulously taking pictures of me with his phone, which I completely love. When I was a very young girl, I used to listen to records. The records were large things you put on a thing with a turntable, and we listened to comedy albums. And there was something called Firesign Theatre that was, I certainly found to be the funniest thing in the world. It was once called one of the 30 greatest comedy acts. Well, I think it should be in the top five.
Yes.
And they were hysterical. And Firesign Theatre is 4 people, one of whom was the amazing Phil Proctor. He's now, yay!
I've heard of him.
Also insanely famous for many, many other things. Thousands of cartoons, video games, movies, television shows. He's written a book. He's starring in a play right now. This man does not stop working.
What am I doing here?
Why are you here?
I should be somewhere doing
Phil
something.
Proctor!
And my wife is now showing up.
And his fabulous
dear
wife,
Melinda.
the actress Melinda Peterson. No slouch.
Yeah.
Actress in her own right. Do come in, have a seat. We have great lighting. We may not have makeup, but we have fabulous lighting.
Here, bend down and they can see you.
Damn. You can
There
see
she
it
is.
even. Oh,
There she is.
This is a picture. It's the
See,
Christmas card.
Here we are in Southern California, so of course I was wearing my sunglasses. Have a good time.
Thank
Make
you, honey.
yourself
Have a
at
good time.
home.
Do you wanna
We
sit and have a
coffee
Diet
and
Coke?
snacks.
No.
Here, have a Diet
Okay.
Coke.
Let you guys
Do you want
No?
Diet Coke?
Want a Diet Coke?
We've had birthday cake in here. We've had like birthday parties.
nice.
Yeah, we try to,
Well, here's the thing. It's nice to be here,
but we are hard to find.
but it was hell to get here. And it's not all your fault.
Well,
it's mainly your fault.
It's-
It's mainly your fault because you gave me the wrong
Auto-correcting
address.
I gave you a 5th digit.
Yes,
is what
you
I
gave me a
gave
fifth
you.
digit.
That's the
And
problem.
my
I gave you a
darling wife-
freaking 5th digit.
Yeah, so we put it in our GPS.
You got an extra 0, so they're going.
They were going
around
to
the
take us
world.
to Reno, Nevada.
They were in freaking Reno, basically trying to find here.
And so Melinda said, "Oh, there's too many digits here." I said, "This is the look. This is the
It's the
address."
thing,
that,
and
you
it
know,
is too many digits.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
problem.
And so we ended up under the Hollywood sign.
Which is lovely, but there's no show there.
I know.
God.
I know. And why? Why did that woman? I think the GPS woman wanted to see the Hollywood sign.
They do that.
You know?
Do you have the American woman or the Australian woman? There's an Australian woman.
No, she's not an Australian woman.
She's
no.
awful. The Australian woman's
Is
very
she
mean.
really bad now?
Yes. Don't
It's
get
not
the
an Australian
woman.
woman now. It's an all-American lady, but she's a bitch.
She's a bitch, and she was determined to take you to the Hollywood
Okay.
sign. I should broadcast from there someday.
Okay,
then,
right.
then all the lost people would find me.
And of course, the day began with a dead battery
Oh,
in
no.
Melinda's car.
No, so this is just
So
like one of
this-
those
oh,
Tuesdays
the
that's really
day
a
is
Monday
it's
from
like, you know,
hell
it's
thing.
like the stars are misaligned. You know,
Yes.
your Mercury is in the shop. You know, and it was just terrible. But here I am, and I made it, and
so
and I
glad.
don't have to perform tonight. We're double
break.
cast in the Cripple of Inishman.
The cripple, it's Inishman,
Inishman.
which means it's an Irish thing. The
Yeah,
cripple of
it
Inishman, which means
middle island.
Middle island.
Inish is island, Man is middle, and Inishmore is the big island. And the play is about a movie they're making on Inishmore, which they did, The Man of Erin, and how it affects these crazy eccentric people on the island of Inishman. And it's written by Martin O'Donoghue. Is that right? Am I getting his name right? Who?
Aye, a good Irish
Martin
person.
McDonagh.
McDonagh.
Yeah, who wrote 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing.
Oh, that was a very good movie.
He's
Yes.
a very dark, funny
yes.
writer.
Oh, I like this already.
And of course, and we're doing authentic Irish accents because that's one of the things about the Antaeus Company, which is that we are a classical theatre company and we pride ourselves in our authenticity.
And you've been with him for years.
Yeah, Melinda, my wife you saw briefly, introduced me to the company. And I've been with them now for almost 15 years.
Wow.
And we've done some wonderful, wonderful work together. The upside is it's a large company and everybody's really talented. There's not a clinker in the carload. The downside is that we partner cast most of our plays.
Oh.
We double cast.
We take turns.
Which means that you get half the rehearsal time.
Oh, no.
And half the performances.
Oh, you have to tell your friends. Oh,
So
are you
you
coming to
have
see
to
me? Oh, I'm
come.
not on that night. Oh, wait, it's the other guy.
That's right. So the nights that I have left,
I have to come.
and now I have only 5 performances left.
That's good.
The
Oh,
fif-
you marked them. You marked
Right,
them.
yeah, I marked them
Here,
for you.
You did.
The 15th, the 17th, March 1st,
oh,
March
first
9th.
I can come see
Okay,
you. Yes.
and we close the 11th, unless we add some performances. Who knows? But the fact is, both
And you're
companies
just in
are wonderful.
Glendale.
Yeah, we're in Glendale in
Well,
our
that's
own
easy.
beautiful theater that we built, with our blood, sweat, and money. And we used to be on Lancashire. We had kind of a funky space on
Yes,
Lancashire.
those funky little places.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we took over the Deaf Theaters. What? The Deaf Theater Company.
Right,
What?
the
What?
theater for deaf, right? That's
And
it.
the Deaf Theater.
You're at 110 East Broadway, unless it's 1,000.
No,
100
this is
Broadway.
Glendale.
Okay,
That was
right.
back in Lancashire.
Right, in
That was
Lancashire.
back in Lancashire.
Right, you're down, but you're
and
down
that theater
Glendale.
still exists, and they call
Yeah.
it something like the Seeing Eye Theater. Now, I don't know. But in any event, we raised enough funds to actually build a beautiful theater in a former computer store.
Oh.
And it's a
Lots of room.
99-seat theater, and they're all red and comfortable. And we have a black box in the theater. We have a huge library for all of our plays and other collected theater books on theater and acting and everything. And a very active and fun company. We have reinstated something that the Antaeus Company, by the way, it's Antaeus Come See Us.
Antaeus come see
Antaeus
us.
Come See Us.
Really?
And Antaeus was a Greek god who, as long as his feet were implanted on the earth, he was immortal.
But
So we are a company
Keep
who
your feet.
are footed in the classical theater, And most of the stuff that we do is of a classical bent or is just bent. Anyway, which is why I'm working there.
You're
and
a
we've done
doctor
a lot.
in this
We've done
show.
a lot of musicals. We've done a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan over the years. We've won all kinds of awards, particularly for ensemble.
and you're an Irish doctor.
I'm Dr. McSherry in this play, which is a blithely comic role. It's a fine comic role because he's the only sane person on the island, and everyone else is completely crackers, And so the scenes that I have with some of the more eccentric characters are very funny because I'm trying to get through to these people and do my job, you see, as a healer. So it's really a funny play. And I get to work with my dear friend J.D. Cullum, who's playing a major role of a kind of confabulist, a guy who gives the news all the time and makes up stuff. It's very funny. And I worked with his dad, John Cullum. John Cullum, you know the name? From what was that? The Alaskan thing with the moose, that television series with the moose.
Oh, not Northern Exposure.
Northern
Yes,
Exposure.
Northern Exposure.
Yeah, I did a play with him when I just got out of Yale called Thistle in My Bed. And it was written by Gudrun Powers. And it was a Welsh folk tale, really. And Howard De Silva directed it, who, if people who know theater, he was kind of like one of the, I don't know, the 7 or the 9. Or he was infamous in his own way. And John Cullum was in it, and my classmate Sam Waterston, and Joanna Merlin and I.
Wow.
And it was a very it was the first play where I fell off the stage.
No, really.
I've done it twice.
I've done that.
Have you
done
too?
It. It's not. It was dark.
Not fun.
Now, did they see you? Is the question.
No.
Then it doesn't matter because
No,
that's what I did. I did it during a blackout, and nobody
I
knew.
want to hear your story.
Got
though.
my ass back out there. Yep. That's the way to do it.
This one, we had a dance, a village dance.
A Welsh village dance.
Welsh village dance. And which means we were hopping on one. And the lights went out, and we were under-teched. We hadn't had decent tech rehearsals. So the lights went out. I'd been spinning around. I thought I was going to go off stage right, and I went right off the stage. And I landed luckily on 2 older people who were heavy. They were heavy older people. Thank God.
Because if they'd been skinny, it could have hurt.
I could have hurt myself. But that was okay. But the last time I stepped off the stage was Firesign Theatre performing up at the Shakespeare Festival in Oregon, and Asheville, Oregon, Ashes, Oregon. Oh, Ashes, Oregon. I hope not. Oh, I hope not. Anyway, and it was the same thing. We didn't really have a tech, and it was the end of Act 1, and usually there's like a blue out.
So there's also glow tape on the stage. Do they do glow tape?
No, not with the Firesign Theatre. When you're an act, you go from one place to another.
You're up.
Yeah, and you're lucky if you get a tech. We had special effects and things, so we do. But in any event, instead of a blue out, there was a blackout. And again, I thought, well, I'll go off stage left this time, and I left the stage. And fell. But here's the thing, and I want you to corroborate this if it happened to you. When you step off into a void in complete darkness, that is a feeling, right, that you'll never forget, and you don't want to remember it.
It's kind of like death. It's pitch black,
and
you step off, and you're sure you know where you're going. I had glow tape. Unfortunately, there were two lines.
Yeah, but it was over your eyes.
There was the line that was where it was supposed to go, and then there was the line marking the edge of the stage. And someone left like a piece of styrofoam cup or something. So when I'm like, I'll follow that. And look, it wasn't too high. There was carpet.
Good.
But I stepped and went. I'm in a sensory deprivation chamber.
Yes.
It's pitch black, and I'm falling.
Yes.
And there was really loud music playing, so no one heard me scream.
And you landed on the carpet? So
I landed on the carpet, so I didn't die.
Good. I have a scar on my leg from this particular one.
I tore a ligament in my hand. It got better, but I tore a ligament in my hand. I tore a ligament in my hand because I kind of like did a backflip thing. And then I realized what was happening, and I crawled off and through the doors and proceeded to change my clothes and make the entrance. Yes, and I made the entrance. And then I was like, I can't move my hand.
Why does the show have to go on?
And then I went to the hospital afterwards. It was lovely.
Wow.
Did you go to the hospital after you fell off?
No.
Very
no,
good.
In fact,
I'm impressed.
it was between acts.
Right.
And so Una Austin, my late dear partner, Phil Austin's wife, applied a Band-Aid, with no stitches, which is why I have a scar, but applied a Band-Aid, and we went on. But I did a play on Broadway a musical called A Time for Singing. Mm-hmm. Which was a delightful musical based on How Green Was My Valley, the story of the death of an entire family of Welsh coal miners. Great idea for a musical.
Sunny.
And actually it was
show.
a beautiful musical. But the set was by Ming Cho Lee. And Theonia Aldridge did the costumes, by the way. She's still doing great costume work. And it was a moving set. So that, it would go like this on a turntable and reveal the happy Welsh family, and then it would go like this on the turntable, and there was the cemetery. No, but, there was another scene. And one of our dancers, whose name was Patty Melt,
oh, dear. Really?
was run over by the set.
So moving sets, very dicey. Yes. Dicey business moving sets.
Darkness.
And then...
oh, boom!
And now everything is moving, yes.
But the best story I ever heard about a recovery on stage was one of the dancers told me this in A Time for Singing. They were dancing with a guy who wore contact lenses, and he did a spin.
Oh, no.
And he said, "I've lost my lens." And she said, "I see it." And she danced over and picked it up, and they carried on and saved his lens.
See, that's wait, people don't realize who don't do this. When you're on stage, you're like, nope, I'm staying up here.
Yeah.
Is it on fire? It's on fire.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
what's my line? I'm gonna, and you don't stop.
What's my line? That's another whole thing
Then,
about live
when
theater. When you go up. And or ghost, as the English say.
Go to the Bahamas. As we I'm in the Bahamas.
I worked with. It's in the book, by the way. Where's the book?
He has a book. Now we have to get this out.
A lot of these stories
it's
are in the book.
a marvelous book, which I am reading, called "Where Is My Fortune Cookie?"
I finished your book a while ago.
Oh, I'm almost done with yours.
Absolutely love your book. I
thank
love
you so
your
much.
book.
I love your book.
It's so heartfelt.
Thank you.
And so honest, and you have such an interesting story to tell.
Thank you.
That I was very moved by it.
And
actually.
I am massively enjoying your book, and you can get this. You can go to Amazon. Yes.
Yes,
Where's My
Amazon,
Fortune
Where's
Cookie
My
by
Fortune
Phil
Cookie.
Proctor. You totally want this book. It is hysterical, but it is also absolutely fascinating.
historical.
And historical. And one of the things that blew my mind in reading it was, I'm going, wait, I was at that. Wait, I was at that. We are weirdly in
Yes.
some of the same places at the same
Yes.
time for totally bizarre, not the same reasons. Sunset Boulevard,
Sunset Boulevard.
in the 60s, Pandora's Box, the rock club in the middle, and there was all sorts of demonstrating and rioting and people flipping buses over. It was very exciting. And you were down there in the street.
Yes, you were above.
I was
watching
in the Chateau. I was
from the Chateau
freaking
Marmont.
5, and
Right.
I'm upstairs in the Chateau Marmont on the 5th floor with my family, and they're on the balcony going, look at the people demonstrating out there. Oh, it's fascinating.
If
And then
I'd known it was you, I would. Hey,
you come in there like cheering, like woo, and you literally, we were
I was there
yards
with,
from each other.
I was there with Brandon DeWilda, who is most people would know as the boy in Shane. Shane, come back,
Shane, yes.
who had a very wonderful career, and Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda. Well, he was at all the good demos.
Yeah, Peter was doing research for a little movie that he wanted to call Captain America. But since there was a Captain America, they wouldn't let it. So he changed the title to Easy Rider.
Oh, yeah, that kind of worked out.
That kind of worked out.
Better title, way better title.
So we were there, and Dennis Hopper was somewhere in there too, to research the youth movement, the youth revolution.
That's what you told people were there for research? Is your...
Oh,
you really were. You were there for research.
I was writing for the East Village Other at the time.
right. You were press.
And so I had a press card, which actually just had like an eye on it. And I held that up when the cops, charged us. And they just flowed around me, See, they respected the press in those days. It wasn't fake news. It was real news, even if it was the East Village Other. Alternate news, but not alternate facts, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, when I was reading your book, that really tickled me that we were in two places at once when we weren't anywhere at all in terms of our own.
One of my favorite
connection.
lines, thank you very much. How can you be two places at once when you're not anywhere at all?
For those of you who don't know,
Ingrained in my brain from
I'm
childhood.
so sorry. I know, but for those of your listeners and viewers who don't know what Firesign Theatre is, Firesign Theatre is so named because we're all fire signs. We
You are a
were
Leo.
all fire. I'm a Leo. There were two Sagittarians and an Aries. You can Google Firesign Theatre, and it won't hurt us. And you'll find out this extraordinary opus that we created.
And you can also go and download all of the albums or
Yeah.
buy the albums and order the album and watch the videos
Yeah,
and see
yeah,
the,
yeah.
and the film and
we
the
had
whole
we
thing.
had a
Yes.
very intense career, and we were honored last year by the Library of Congress, which purchased our archives for
good,
$500,000.
good. Yeah, if you're watching, if you're a fan of Monty Python or such the sort of bizarre things,
Yeah, we were
you
before Python.
seriously need to listen to Firesign Theatre.
And
You would
both
go mad.
Python and Firesign Theatre were inspired by the Goon Show.
The Goon Show, the old Goon Show, which
Peter
was brilliant.
Sellers.
Peter
and
Sellers
all
and the Good Show,
that.
brilliant.
So as I say, we had a $500,000 payoff, and this is my share. Nice, because there are four of us. So, but it's okay. It's a payoff of sorts for all those 50 years of work. 3 Grammy nominations for Best Comedy Album, but not good enough.
I need
Just
one of
nominations.
those that to represent what I get for the DVDs of Little House. That's the
Right.
DVD
Your
payment
royalties
is right about there.
Oh, today, yes, today I got 2 royalty checks
Yes.
for Howard. I play Howard in the Rugrats.
Yes, she's in
Okay.
the Rugrats.
Yeah, and I
Toy
have
Story. You're in everything.
Yes, look. See,
There
I
he
carry
is.
these for fans.
How
So I'm
adorable is
Howard.
that?
I'm Howard in the Rugrats, and we hear that we're going to do another 26 of them
Good.
this year. We're just
Love
waiting for
Rugrats.
the shoe to drop, and I got 2 residual checks for the Rugrats.
Excellent.
2 cents and 1 cent.
Wow.
I know.
Even my Fantasy Island's worth $1.99.
Well, you see,
Now I did get Room 222. I got 7 cents. I did get 7 cents.
7 cents. Well,
Yeah,
that's
my
that's
7
good,
cents.
but 2 cents and 1 cent.
Costs some more to mail you the check.
It does. This is we actually have had this brouhaha at the union, which is why don't you just direct deposit it?
Which they used to do.
Oh, did they
They
used to
did.
do
If
it?
you had the, especially with the Screen Actors Guild SAG-AFTRA Credit Union, for many years, we went the credit union. It was lovely. And
Sure.
they used to do direct deposit. My mother's residuals were all direct deposit. And then they said, well, because they wouldn't bundle. They're bundling our little house checks, so it's like one and then one. But they weren't bundling, so too many 1-cent checks. The direct deposit people said, we're not going to do it. And they did. They stopped doing it. I was so mad when they stopped.
I had
It
to
was
go
awesome.
see my doctor because I was bundling, and
The bundle.
I had the bundles bad.
I got antibiotics for it. I did. The bundling. The bundling.
I'm immune to antibiotics now because I'm a superstar. You've heard about the superbugs?
The superbugs?
I'm a superstar.
You have a
so I'm
star on
immune to-
Hollywood Boulevard. You are.
I share.
You share.
I share a star with the
share a star.
Rugrats.
You have the Rugrats
But it was
star.
a-
So you're part
it
of
was
the
a-
Rugrats star.
I was part of the ceremony.
Which that
and
means you go to the ceremony. It's
I
your star.
went to the ceremony and the party afterwards, and it was fun. Listen, the Grammy nominations over three years with time in between, we got to go to the Grammys and then to the Grammy parties afterwards, which is the reason to go to the Grammys if you're
Yes, the
an
party.
artist, because you'd go from one room to another room to all different kinds of music by great superstars. Oh my God, so much fun. And my daughter, Kristen Campbell, and her husband, Jeff, were there, what was it, last night? Night before last. Because Jeff works for Universal Music.
Oh, great.
And they have, a bunch of artists that are represented in the musical field. And so they were there. Oh, I have to bring something else up.
Yes.
Down, boy. And that is, I work with a fellow named Jamie Alcroft. And he and I have did a series over 100 Boomers on a Bench videos, which you can
Boomers
find
on a Bench. We
on
like it.
Facebook.
Okay,
Boomers on a Bench. And he was part of a team. He was the Jamie and Mac and Jamie. And Mac and Jamie had a television show on CBS called Comedy Break.
Oh, I have a headache. Oh, I'm in pain.
I believe
the flashbacks.
that
Doctor.
Alison Ingram
Oh,
was
Dr.
on
Memory.
that show.
Everything you know is wrong.
Do you remember
Doctor,
it?
Memory. They gave me drugs to help stamp out the terrible flashbacks from that. Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yes. Mac and Jamie
Yeah.
and freaking
So,
comedy.
so Jamie
The 80s, the
Jamie says
1980s.
I have to send his love to you. Okay, and the reason
they
that
were
he
lovely people.
popped into my head is that one of his daughters, Haley Kyoto,
Great name.
is becoming a great musical star, rock star, because she is gay. I know there's a lot of gay stories and gay people that you helped and worked with.
Indeed,
and
we
both,
just had
both
on the
happy
two
and sad
gay
stories,
passing- yes.
right? And she has become. They call her the Jesus of the gay girls, the lesbians, the lesbian Jesus, they call her, because she, with her wonderful music and personality and presentation, and everything, has basically given girls who are lesbian an opportunity to step forward.
Excellent.
They don't feel
Good.
alone in this, and they don't feel like they're weird because they're different. And she's in Europe now as part of her tour. So that's what brought Jamie to my mind.
That's Jamie's daughter?
Yes, one of his daughters. He has a son and a daughter, and she's, off with this great career.
In the fabulous 80s,
Yeah.
because I was touring and doing stand-up, and it was
Yeah.
Viacom and the thing and Comedy Break, and I went to this meeting, I met Mac and Jay, and yes,
Yeah.
they had sketches and comedy,
Yeah.
and I did some of my stand-up, and there was a sketch. It's all kind of a blur at this
Oh,
point. It
yeah,
was one of
well,
those moments. But indeed, I remember they were delightful. I
Yes.
liked them very much. Were
Very
lovely people.
kind, smart, funny, lovely people. And he is indeed
And I
a
never
great
thought in my life
partner.
someone would bring up Comedy Break and Mac and Jamie to me.
There you are. There you are. And Jamie has a book out now, too, just released, called Diary of the Tin Man.
Diary.
Oh, no, the Tin Man Diaries. I
Tin
think
Man
you call
Diary.
it.
Fabulous.
Okay,
title.
now why
all
is
these
it called
great titles
that?
to do with these people.
Why is it called that? Because Jamie, 2 years ago, had a heart and a liver transplant. He now is a 70-year-old man with a 47-year-old heart
Whoa.
and liver. So he can start drinking all over again. See, there is hope, ladies and gentlemen. If you drink long enough, you might be able to drink even more because of the advancement of science. And of course they're trying to figure out how to make cannabis drinks.
Yes.
And the problem is alcohol is water soluble.
Yes.
So it goes into your bloodstream. And we know from our experience, because I think the first beer was invented 14,000 years ago. In
Beer
China.
and civilization
Yeah.
are both side effects
Yes.
of agriculture.
You remember that? And I know that alcohol kills brain cells, but only the bad ones. So anyway, they're trying to figure out what they call it the onset and the offset, which are the results of drinking, results of alcohol. And we know what the onset is and how many drinks you can take before it becomes, dangerous to you. And we know about how long it lasts in an alcohol high. And then
Right, and if you eat and how much you weigh.
Yeah,
and- right.
but cannabis is different because of the strengths of the drug to begin with. And they don't yet know how to here's what they'd
You wanna
like
make
to
it
be
a
able
drink,
to do.
a soda, or a
There are cannabis
A
drinks
liqueur.
out now, but they're best imbibed at home where you don't have to go anywhere, But what they're trying to figure out is if you're out with a bunch of friends who are drinking and you want to imbibe something cannibal, not cannibal, cannibal.
Cannibal.
And
Cannabinoidal?
how can you keep up with your friends? Because they're all going like, yeah, and you're going, oh wow, man, who are you? And that's because it's metabolized.
Yes.
See, the THC, which is the element that affects your, I'm going to say brain, but there's endorphins, dopamines,
Endorphins?
dumabins, whatever it is.
Whatever.
It does that in the brain. It excites your damafins, and therefore it's harder to figure out what the effects are and how long they'll last.
Right, because it's not the same. It doesn't metabolize the same way, and
Right.
it's not like, oh, I had 3 drinks, but if I eat some macaroni and cheese, I'll sober
Yeah,
up.
or a
it
gummy
doesn't
bear,
work, it doesn't work that
or
way. Yeah.
a pod gummy bear, whatever. So, I remember once I was, the Firesign Theatre started on the radio, and we started on KPFK, a listener-supported station,
KPFK, I
right,
love it, yes.
which is still with us.
Yes.
And it was located in the valley in a smaller building. It's now in a bigger building. And Peter Bergman, by the way, this is all in the book. The night that Allison and I were oddly connected.
We're like less than 300 feet apart.
The
Yes.
Sunset Strip riots. As part of the protest, we sat down in front of Pandora's box when the sheriff. So the protest was over a curfew. They were trying
Right,
to.
it was a curfew. They're trying to make the teenagers, because it was very much an all ages club, and
Yeah.
the teenagers they
Yeah,
tried to do
and,
curfew.
they were smoking pot and protesting the war.
And I was 5 and
things.
couldn't figure out why my mother wouldn't let me go to Pandora's box.
There
We
you
crossed
go.
the street every day. We saw it. I went, it looks
That's right.
nice.
That's right. So anyway, we sat down as part of the protest, and I sat down on an open copy of the L.A. Free Press, which is still with us, I guess, in some form or another, kind of. But it was the radical voice of the youth movement at that time. And I pulled it out from under my butt, and I had sat down on Peter Bergman's face. There was a picture of Peter Bergman, and it said KPFK newsman Peter Bergman interviews returning Vietnam War vets. And I said, well, I know Peter Bergman. I went to Yale with Peter Bergman. He wrote the lyrics for 2 musicals I starred in at Yale, Booth is Back in Town and Tom Jones, okay? And so I said, I got to call him. So the next day, let's see, Peter was beaten up. Brandon was arrested. I held up my my East Village Other card. And so I was free. And so I called Peter.
And my parents were throwing popcorn off the balcony.
Right. I think I ate one of those. And so I called Peter the next day, and he said, I said, well, what are you doing? He said, I'm the wizard. I'm the wizard. I said, yeah, but what are you doing?
Yeah.
He said, no, I'm the Wizard of Oz. I said, oh, Peter, what are you
Damn, you're
smoking?
good drugs,
And
yeah.
he said, no, you don't understand. I have a show on KPFK called Radio Free Oz, and I'm the host. I'm the wizard. Why don't you come down and play? So that night, I go down to KPFK, and I still had pavement feet. I came from New York. I just barely learned how to drive, you know. So I found KPFK. Unlike today,
Unlike
where
today,
I
when you
almost
can find this
didn't
place
find you
for days,
and I go in and I meet two other guys, a guy named Phil Austin, who was producing Peter's show, and a guy named David Osman, who was reducing it. I don't know exactly what he was doing there. And we discovered that we were all fire signs. I'm a Leo, Peter is a Sag, Dave's a Sag, and Austin, unfortunately, is an Aries.
And this is in the 60s when people were so way
We were
into this. They were
into
like
it,
really
man.
into astrology.
We
It was
were
like a big
into
thing.
it.
It was a
And
thing.
Bergman's show was the first New Age call-in talk show.
Which became so popular. I mean, everyone had one eventually. Yes.
But he became immensely and surprisingly popular. And he actually started the first Love-In.
That's what he started Lovin'.
Yeah.
The Lovins in the park.
Yeah, at
was
Elysian
him.
Field on Easter. He invited his listeners to come, and he thought there might be 1,000 people there. There were, I don't know, like 7,000 people showed up.
Yes.
And Beto O'Rourke was there talking to the mob. It was phenomenal, you know. So that was when he kind of realized, hey, something's really happening here. And that was the beginning of the Firesign Theatre, because we would sit around the microphones. This is a microphone. And we would improvise comedy. And we discovered that we were like jazz players. We all just got the vibe. We all just grooved together. And in fact, for those of you who don't know Firesign Theatre, you can go to our website, firesigntheatre.com, and there's an icon of an old radio there. And if you click on that, for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 8 days a week, I love you. You can hear Firesign Theatre radio and records and stuff. Okay, because in fact, we released really a great book. We have a producer, archivist named Taylor Jessen, and he created a book maybe about 12 years ago now called The Duke of Madness Motors. And it is the story of our radio years, profusely illustrated, including a lot of collages of mine. And at the back is an MP3 of like 80 hours of our radio shows.
But the jazz comparison is true. If you have not listened to Firesign Theatre, very much like jazz, because there'll be, I guess you can call it a sketch. There'll be a story going on where two characters talk, and then there's just suddenly, and someone walks in and starts talking about something else, and then they're talking, and there's asides, and then
Or
the
a
music
sound
starts
effect will take
playing
you to another
and wanders off, and now we're over here.
Yeah,
Antelope Freeway, 5 miles. If you lived here, you'd be home by now. And you're like, wait, what? What just happened?
Now, you're talking about our records.
Yes.
See, and the records came out of our improvisation on the radio.
The stuff you kept, as it were.
Well, just, kind of the stuff that we said, this is an interesting place to go. Can we expand it and make it a form for a story, an adventure? And what we did was we pioneered and invented the long-form comedy album with integrated music, as you said, and sound effects and other technical effects. And when we started to do this, we worked in Hollywood at the Columbia Studios on Gower Street, and they were converted radio studios.
Wow.
So we came from radio, and we're working in radio studios from like the 30s and 40s, and doing our recording there. And we were working on, since we were overdubbing, we called it overdubbing over alles. We were overdubbing, which was created by the guitarist, what's his name, who overdubbed the music. Anyway, I'll remember his name in a minute. In any event, we were overdubbing to create layers and layers and layers of complex comedy and puns that went on various levels. And the tape was, maybe like 10-track tape. For those of you who don't know
And
what
people
tape
going,
is.
tracks?
Tape?
What is he talking about?
It was called reel-to-reel tape. It was a little reel with tape on it, plastic tape.
Like those
that.
giant computers in the old movies with the big,
And so we would fill up these tracks rapidly, and we'd have to do a thing they call ping pong, which is that they take a bunch of tracks and move them to one track, which freed up those other tracks for more stuff. All right. as we continued, because we did this 50 years, we had a 50-year career, over 50-year career. And as we continued once we became successful and were given the go-ahead to do more records, which was allowed us by a fellow, one of the suits at Columbia, who, after our first record, Waiting for the Electrician, or someone like him, which sold moderately, he said they were going to drop us. And he said, "You can't drop these. No, you can't drop these. These are geniuses. This is where comedy is going." He said, "I'll sign them to a spoken arts contract." Now, what did that mean? Reduced royalty. I grant you that.
Spoken arts.
But
Okay.
as in socialism, we had free studio time.
Oh.
It was a little trade-off. For free studio time, we had a reduced royalty, which is why, as you see, my share of the $500,000 is commensurate to my royalties at that time. And we were then able to spend as much time in the studio as we could. What did this mean? It meant that we could write our albums over a long period of time, and we could go into the studio before it was even finished and lay down the first part so that we could hear it, and it would then inform the rest of the work. Not only that, we would perform our skits, basically what we wanted the record to do, on stage at the Ash Grove, which is now the Improv. It's been the Improv.
And it was the Pitchell
decades.
Players. Remember the Pitchell Players?
Oh, I remember the Pitchell
was
Players. Batter up. I do. And Ed Pearl, who is still with us and blogging and doing it and still doing concerts and stuff, he ran the club, the Ash Grove. We would go in and we would perform our pieces so that we could, build a record about them. The last one that we did there was very bizarre. Oh, the book, by the way, Where's My Fortune Cookie? It has this title because Peter Bergman and I survived the Golden Dragon Massacre.
It's
which
the
was
most bizarre story. It is absolutely the most bizarre story.
All true. In San Francisco, like 71 or something 76, I think it was, sometime like that. Who can remember? But I'm here to forget, which is great. At any event, it was a Chinese gangland shooting, and it was retribution for the murder of one of the gang members, Zhou Fang Gang, which is the watching. And of course, we never got our fortune cookies. Okay?
Got out with their
And
lies.
that kind
basically.
of became, a joke that we did when we did our stand-up and all that, Proctor and Bergman. But the book is called Where's My Fortune Cookie? Because one of our angels, a woman named Gretchen Steiner, she helped us produce some of our stage shows in the later years. And when Peter Bergman passed away about 6 years ago now, she helped us put together a memorial. First one up in Kirkland, Washington, where he'd been living on Whidbey Island, where Dave Osmond lives, and then down at the electric chair, what is it called, in Venice, the Electric Lodge. And she supplied fortune cookies for that event.
Oh.
And they had Peter Bergman's date of birth and death, and on the other side, the name of an album, one of our albums. And after the event, I said, it was so sweet of you to supply those fortune cookies because, the Golden Dragon Massacre was really something. She said, what? I said, the Chinese gangland
thing about why we didn't get cookies, where we almost died and all the people. Yeah,
She said, what are you talking about?
She didn't know.
She didn't know. I said, why did you do this? And she said, because Peter came to me in a dream and said, I never got my fortune cookie.
Okay.
Now, my book is filled with things like that. Now, I'm sure that although I didn't see a lot of that in your book, what I saw in your story were people, and how people violated you, how you were, your life, your spirit, your personality was formed by interaction with other beings. Your parents were amazing in that regard.
And the overlap of how people then turn up over here, and you think
Yes.
this is going here, and they don't, and then yes.
Yes, and everybody has something like that. I have a more psychic life than most.
All right, and I amazingly, we are actually running out of time.
Well,
We're
I
going to have
hope
to have
I'm
you,
not.
We're going to have you on again.
I'll come
And
back.
this time you will.
That's a Buddhist
the
return.
corrected- the
I
Buddhist
shall
return.
return.
You shall return.
But I might be a cat.
And
next time.
at least we'll all know where it is this time. Good God! So it'll be
Yeah,
much
well, you can
easier to
see me
find.
live.
See
You
you
can
live.
see me
You can
live.
see you live. Still
Yeah,
alive.
at the Cripple of Inishman in
15th,
Glendale.
17th, and March 1st, 9th, and 11th. And it's in Glendale.
My cast is the Fripple Frapples. There's the Yallow Mallows and the Fripple Frapples. I won't tell you what that means. You have to come and see the play.
And
you'll
Teus,
understand
and
it.
they have a website.
Antaeus, come see us.
Antaeus, come see us.
Antaeus.org.
Antaeus.org. You can come see him. You can get his book. You can download albums. You can see the cartoons. You do voices for video games. You do freaking everything.
I'm recording a video game tomorrow.
He's recording a video game
An
tomorrow.
online video game tomorrow.
God.
And previous to that, I created the character of Dr. Vidic in the Assassin's Creed stories. And I got to do. He hosted a tournament, a live tournament online.
It's insane.
So there is life after all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Proctor, and this is the Allison Arngrim Show.